Good evening, and let's discuss the specter of the enlightened brain. Dun dun dun. Oh, machine, don't be that way. Let's explore the neuroscience of mere cleverness, as opposed to wisdom. When we're clever, there is a partnership between the prefrontal cortex region of our brain, the seat of wisdom, and the seat of fear and aggression at the bottom of our brain, our amygdala. You put these two together and we can be very, very clever. We see that type of cleverness in the business world, in the political world, whenever people try to deceive, manipulate, or exploit others. That requires a degree of cleverness, but not wisdom. So how then do we find wisdom? Wisdom is the partnership, again, of the seat of wisdom, the seat of intellect, the prefrontal cortex, but this time it partners with the anterior cingulate gyrus, the seat of empathy. And as you can see, that's a different part of the brain. And for some reason, these two parts, our fear part and our empathy part, kind of act like a toggle switch or a seesaw, if you will. That begs the question, how do we make the switch from fear-oriented living to love-oriented living? When I first started off, more than 30 years ago, I was taught that the key was concentration, and you just need to focus really hard on empathy and love and compassion and why you need to do it and what's gonna happen to you if you don't. Really? Because that's not what was revealed by the functional magnetic resonance imaging tests. That concentration and our rigidity and the indulging of our controlling tendencies does not fire up our empathy center. But you know what it does do? It fires up our fear and aggression center even more. It's like that ridiculous movie, This Is Spinal Tap. It turns our fear and aggression up to 11. I have spent time with people who did not know the difference between mindfulness and concentration. I have lived in their monasteries. I have participated in their Dharma studies. And these people are cranky and fearful, and I don't want to be that way. And I'm pretty sure you don't want to be that way either. So concentration is the culprit, because concentration is a way of indulging our yang tendencies, our metaphoric patriarchal tendencies, our tendencies to be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Oh, thank you, James. To you, I send a Yoda high five. So if take two. If concentration, they begin with the same consonant after all. If concentration ain't the way, what is? Might I suggest mindfulness? Or mindfulness is in harmony with the yin characteristics. The characteristics of being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Well, that sounds Jim dandy, but how do we do that? Ironically, if we forsake our rigidity and controlling tendencies and allow ourselves to be the ridiculous slobs that we really are, then randomness and relaxation can help us to become the people that our dogs already think we are. Now, let's dig a little deeper into the old neuroscience of it all. Every time we inhale, we access our sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. It is not wired for active concentration, but instead is wired to help us perceive and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. We are wired to notice all manner of things: sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. Emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. How do we deal with all that stuff? Simple. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system. It's not in our brain, no, it's in our spinal cord, way down at the bottom in the lumbar region, and up at the tippy top in the cervical region. It's wired to help us to physically relax as well as mentally release. This is the key to mindfulness and meditation in harmony with the natural processes unlocked by our inhalation and exhalation. Does this sound ridiculously easy? That is because it is. I look forward to meditating with you tonight after approximately 40 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama. Where is my mic levels? There we go. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. I have spent for more than 30 years, for more than 8 hours a day, every day for 30 years. I have studied, practiced, and reverse engineered the teachings of each school of Buddhism, so you won't have to. I play the Yoda to your Luke Skywalker so that you can quickly and easily become the person that your dog already thinks you are. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. And now, let's giddy up. Technically, you don't need prayers, you don't need recitations, but most people are like a sprinter and have a visceral reaction to the sound of a starter's pistol and the sight of a finish line. And so I like to begin and end meditation with a bit of the old love-oriented chanting. We shall begin with a literal and extensive recitation of empathy and enthusiasm together. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on thee, Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Now we're going to play with a more concise and more figurative version. By the way, these 3 things down here, they are so useful that over the centuries they've earned the metaphoric nickname of the 3 wish-fulfilling jewels, as is mentioned in this bit right here. Together. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. Bit of the old water. Let's dig in. Welcome to my adaptation of the Buddha's meditation manual, known in the ancient tongue of Pali as Anapanasati Sutta. According to the Buddha, this is the path. This is the path leading to true knowledge and liberation. People ask, I've read a question on Reddit today. How did the Buddha become a Buddha? This is how the Buddha became a Buddha, and it's how you can become a Buddha too. And when you see how easy it is, you'll wonder what all the fuss is about. So we're going to begin. What we're going to do is bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the path of mindfulness and meditation. We're going to begin with Kaya Sati's 4 preliminary meditations to center our bodies. Thank you, James. You are very kind. Thank you. Okay, we're going to we begin with the first of Centering's 4 physical preliminary practices, where we mindfully notice and even investigate our relaxingly longer, gentle exhalations. So we're going to play with a ridiculously concise rhetorical question. As we breathe in, we're going to silently and mentally recite how. As we exhale, we're going to silently and mentally recite long. No, Virginia. It's not our job to actually answer this question. This is a rhetorical question. Welcome, my friends, to the lazy bastard path of enlightenment, where we ask questions without trying to answer them. You'll notice in the upper top of the page, there are practice instructions. You could, if you wanted to, you could master this over the course of 17 weeks. The first week, you would simply perform 32 rounds of this meditation every 12 hours. The second week, you'd perform 32 rounds of this meditation after 32 rounds of the first meditation, of the one meditation that preceded it, every 12 hours. And it builds like that for every week. So I won't be continually reading the first line to you, but it's there. So if you wanted to, you could download this. This will be available for free download in approximately 26 hours, 27, something like that. And everything I do is free. If you ever want a text and you can't find it, write me through the Facebook group and I'll happily send you the PDF. So now we come to the second of Centering's 4 physical preliminary practices, where we mindfully notice and even investigate the coalescence of our invigorating sharper inhalations. We do this with a ridiculously easy method of silently and mentally reciting how, short, in harmony with our breathing. We come to the third of centerings for physical preliminary practices where we allow our minds to mindfully notice and even investigate our bodies. So we're going to use the word form as a one-syllable synonym for body. And we breathe in, we silently and mentally recite the verb feel. And so basically we are with wanton abandon, we are allowing ourselves to feel whatever's going on with our bodies, whether it is interesting, boring, pleasurable, painful, glorious, or grotesque. We're not trying to manifest, we're not trying to be positive. We're being vulnerable, and that takes cojones of brass. We come to the fourth of centerings for physical preliminary practices where we allow our bodies to tranquilly relax. Tranquility is the fifth enlightenment factor. And here's the cool thing, just like we discussed during the lesson, we do not have to force it. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired to physically relax and mentally release. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the noun form. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the verb calm. We're not forcing it, we are allowing it to happen because we're already wired for that to happen. We continue with Vedanasati Sutta 4 jhana meditations that center our feelings. Beginning with the first of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices, where we savor the first jhana's invigorating, blissful joy that flows from gently grinning, of all things, with the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eyes, towards our bodies of flesh, blood, and bone. Now here's this is important. Don't force it. Forcing a smile is actually stressful, so we don't force it. But we're going to remind our body that it's okay to smile in a subtle Mona Lisa way, not in a scary Krusty the Clown sort of way. So as we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the verb grin, and as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the noun form. The next time you wake up a little cranky, this exercise could really help. We continue with the second of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices where we savor the second jhana's peaceful joy that flows from gently grinning once again with the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eyes. This time towards our thoughts. And we're using thought as an umbrella term towards our thoughts. Emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining. Joy is the 4th enlightenment factor. And it's really simple how this works. So, once again, just like before, as we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the verb grin. This time as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the noun thoughts, remembering that this noun is an umbrella term. allow me to remind folks that if you have empty pockets, I forbid you to feel guilty. You can help support the Buddha Joy Meditation School for free just by, giving the live stream a thumbs up and writing a comment or a question. And these things really, really help with the algorithm. But listen, you're not here for me, I'm here for you. So if all you do is attend regularly and do your best, that's enough. That's enough. We continue with the third of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices, where we savor the third jhana's contentment, which is pretty unfamiliar for most Americans who are beaten half to death by Medicine Avenue, be forever hungry for something else. We're going to do this by mindfully noticing, investigating, and coalescing, which, by the way, is the 6th enlightenment factor, by coalescing our thoughts, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining. Now, how do we do this? Simple. So the magic of breath and words. That's it. As we breathe in, we're going to silently and mentally recite the verb feel. Hey, we're already wired to feel. We're just harmonizing and aligning our intention with our factory installed programming. And as we exhale, we're going to silently and mentally recite the noun thoughts. So in other words, we're going to perform probably one of the most bold acts of courage. We're going to be vulnerable to what we're feeling, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Dig-a-dig-a-dig, dig, dig, dig. Well, it's really cool. I would have that on tape, but I'm not that cool. Let's continue with the fourth of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices, where we savor the 4th jhana's neutrality. By allowing our thoughts, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining to tranquilly relax. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the umbrella term thoughts, and as we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the verb calm, remembering that we don't have to force relaxation. All we have to do is allow it, for it is what we are already wired to do during each exhalation. We now continue with Chitta Sati's second set of 4 jhana meditations that center our mind. We begin with the first of 4 mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the 5th jhana's metaphoric sphere of infinite spaciousness. We do so by mindfully noticing, investigating, and coalescing our mind's ability to see, hear, feel, taste, smell, and the like. And you'll notice that once again we're using an umbrella term. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the verb feel. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the umbrella term mind. We continue with the second of 4 mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the 6th jhana's metaphoric sphere of infinite awareness, which we generate by allowing our mind to invigoratingly gladden, as towards it we gently smile once again from the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eyes. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the verb grin, and as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the umbrella term mind. We come to the third of 4 mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the 7th jhana's metaphoric sphere of non-graspability, as we allow our minds seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like to tranquilly relax in the most sustainable way. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the umbrella term mind. And as we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the verb calm. If you've just joined, welcome aboard. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to have questions. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, type your question in great detail in the chat window. Allow me to remind you that you do not have to force your body to calm. In fact, it works better if you don't. You see, due to evolution, due to natural selection, we are already wired to relax, to physically relax and mentally release during each exhalation. We're just, why then are we playing with this verb if we're not supposed to actively obey it? This verb merely serves to align our intention with the factory installed programming in our spinal cord. Contrary to popular belief, enlightenment is a natural process that we facilitate by getting out of our own way. We come to the fourth of four mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the eighth jhanas, the metaphoric sphere of acquiescent non-labeling. By experiencing the liberating equanimity, which is the seventh enlightenment factor, the liberating equanimity of our controlling tendencies to push and pull. The method is remarkably easy. As we breathe in, we silently and mentally recite the umbrella term, mind. And as we exhale, we silently and mentally recite the verb, free, remembering that due to the workings of our parasympathetic nervous system, we are already wired not only to physically relax, but to also mentally release during each exhalation. So all we're doing is aligning our intention with our factory installed programming. We end with Dhamma Sati or Anika Vipassanas, set of four impermanence contemplations to help us to circumstantially let go. We begin with the first of four contemplations where we invigoratingly consider course and permanence with the simple rhetorical question, where change? Once again, it's not our job to actively answer this question. It's enough to recite it silently and mentally in harmony with the cycles of our respiration. We continue with the second of four contemplations where we consider subtle impermanence with the rhetorical question, where fade? We come to the third of four contemplations where we consider very subtle impermanence with the rhetorical question, where cease? We conclude with the fourth of four contemplations where we consider relinquishing, surrendering, and good old-fashioned letting go, with the rhetorical question, where yield? As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the preposition where. And as we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the verb yield. Let us seal this evening's practice with a bit of the old chanting, beginning with the ethics of kindness and concluding with the four immeasurables. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May everyone be free from misery, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way. Why, thank you, Mr. Brock. To you I send a Yoda high five.